So I think that for Alabama's sake, it's just kind of who are the guys that are going to step up, And for Auburn, one, if you got a chance to, we'll hear from Hugh Freeze later on. It's after practice yesterday as they prepare for their scrimmage today. There are some lingering issues with Jackson Arnold, and a lot of it has to do with him letting the football go. If you were on social media yesterday, and one, if you saw the original video, it went up about noon. I know I heard Three Man Front discussing it a little bit, and I think that a lot of people kind of blew it out of proportion. They saw Hugh Freeze throwing his visor, getting frustrated with Jackson Arnold. Again, to me, it was literally just another practice down. Like, it was just another typical practice in football. Because, again, and you'll hear from Hugh Freeze, he talks about it. We got the play called, and the guy's open. Let the ball fly. And he has this expectation that, hey, it needs to be completed. When I have the play called, it needs to be completed, especially if it's there. It meant something different if it was clamped up and you had nowhere to go. And it was pass scale. Like, it was half pass scale at that. So it was literally just two receivers and the quarterback literally just working on their routes and their timing, and Jackson Arnold held it too long. I don't understand why people were saying, oh, there's trouble over there in the plains. No, I think it's one of those things where a coach is frustrated and he's been continuously telling him, hey, we got to let the ball go. You can't run in this situation. Like, the guys are open. Let it go. And to me, I'm not sitting here worried about what Jackson Arnold could be, because I do think that this offense is still geared towards. You also heard that the receivers were down. So he's probably working with guys very similar to Oklahoma. He's probably working with guys he didn't expect were going to be in the rotation. We hear Eric Singleton got a little dinged up. Cam Coleman had a non-contact practice jersey on yesterday. Of course, with Bryce Kane and then Perry Thompson also having a few lingering injuries. So hopefully to see that they're going to be at 100% for the scrimmage today. But we get a chance to hear from Hugh Freeze in yesterday's practice on just the throw-in of the visor situation.
Did you catch me throwing my visor?
I did, yes.
Yes, yeah. I've got to calm down sometimes with quarterbacks. But, when we have, again, it goes back to when we have the right thing called, the expectation, and I think it's a reasonable one, is we execute it. And now, if we haven't coached it well enough when we get in there, maybe that's the case. I'll ask the quarterback staff, what did we tell him? Because we got him wide open and we don't throw the touchdown. And that's frustrating as heck. When you it's hard enough to score in this league and in any game, really. But, man, when you finally have one that's called right, you want to see us execute it. And that was the frustration.
Right. Yes. And that's the thing. And to me personally, Coach, you don't have to apologize. You really don't. One, I think people are expecting coaches to be nice all of a sudden, or they got to put these guys in bubble wrap. No, if my quarterback is not letting the ball go, I'm going to lose my cool. And like he said, if he's open, I need my quarterback to let it rip. Don't think about it. Let it rip. We can correct a lot of things on film. Like, hey, maybe he got out of his break a little earlier than expected, or maybe you wanted him in a different spot. But if you're Jackson Arnold, man, like you have played too much ball to still be making the same mistakes. And one thing that coaches always say is don't make the same mistake twice. And this is something that we were hearing early on in camp of, hey, Jackson has to let it rip. Like, that's if all the things, he's using his legs when he needs to, but he's holding on the ball too long. And I don't know if that is a technical issue. I don't know if that's having second guessing. But Hugh Freeze has a right to be frustrated. Like, I'm not sitting here. Listen, we've had a whole bunch of just a lot of just crap, to say the least, about the play calling. And he addressed that situation as well. But I think that for him specifically at the quarterback position, and again, he's the head coach of the football team, he is under an immense amount of pressure to go out there and win football games, because the expectation is we have too much talent on this field for us not to be successful. And at some point, it has to click. It just has to click. And when you're sitting here talking to a guy that's played a lot of football and still saying, man, can you let it rip? Like, we've got the play call. And again, not all play calls are designed to score touchdowns, but if you got them, you got to get them. Simple as that. Simple as that. There's no other way to coach around it. There's no nice way of saying it. No, if you got a touchdown play, you got to let that thing go. And I think for Jackson Arnold, again, think about this. Hugh Freeze, it started off as like, man, I want my quarterbacks to leave confident. Well, it's kind of difficult to leave the field confident if you're not letting the ball go. Like, and I understand on both sides of it. Hugh Freeze is like, man, come on now. Like, you got to get it. And then Jackson's like, oh, man, am I thinking too much, or what did I see? And those are the things that you have to have. Those are the conversations that you're going to have in the film room. And if it's not translating from the film room to the football field, then yes, there are issues. There are things that will frustrate guys. And again, throwing a visor because you're frustrated. Have y'all not seen any football coach? Like, have you ever been to a football practice? Throwing a visor is absolutely nothing. It's absolutely nothing. What would have been worse? If he would have snatched him out and put Deuce Knight in, and Deuce Knight would have completed the same exact pass. Then everybody would have been frustrated. Or even not even Deuce Knight. Throw Ashton Daniels in there. He completes that pass. Then everybody's having a discussion of, man, maybe something's going on at Auburn. Him throwing a visor out of frustration is absolutely nothing. Think about all the head coaches we have seen absolutely lose their minds throwing headsets on the sidelines. Coaches are under a lot of pressure, man. Like, you don't. I'm siding with Hugh Freeze on this situation. You ain't got to apologize, big dog. It is not worth the apology because, again, you are going to be frustrated multiple times throughout the season. And maybe you may not throw a visor, but there's probably going to be some choice words in the headset of what is going on or what's he thinking, and the communication on the offensive side. And again, Jackson Arnold has no excuse. He has no excuse. He's played too much ball for him to have these same mistakes going forward. He just cannot. He cannot continue with these situations. But that's enough. That's enough for this portion of it. Let's go to Hugh Freeze as well, as he addressed the whole play calling fiasco, to say the least.
Derek Nix is the offensive coordinator, and he does all the planning, scripting, in charge of the game plan. But man, there's no staff that is not a collaboration on the plan. And I, offensively or defensively, reserve the right to say on the call sheet, I don't really like that one right here. But he does a great job for us. Kent kind of leads the third down plan. But other than that, Nix kind of leads the charge and has the play calling duties, with me reserving the right to say, hey, I go over on defense, and during the when we're on defense, to do head coaching duties and do the same thing there and say, I think you ought to, give me a hole player here. Or I don't tell DJ a whole lot, but there's times I can see what I think offenses are doing, and I say, hey, man, I think we need to cloud this. That's the way it'll be this year. And while I'm doing that, they're the offensive guys led by Nix are talking about the next series and what we should do. And usually there's another TV timeout or something, so I have time to get back on and say, all right, what are y'all thinking? Yes, I like that. I like all of that.
That's head coach Hugh Freeze, and he's discussing the play call. And something else that he talked about yesterday, as far as the communication in the headset. So I was under the impression, and I appreciate Hugh Freeze kind of detailing, like, okay, yeah, Nix is my offensive coordinator. He has the first downs, and these are the plans that we're looking for. And that's how I interpreted when I first heard about the whole who's calling plays situation, because I looked at it as, okay, everybody has the script, and as we prepare during the week, Nix has the first down plays of, hey, coach, this is what I'm thinking. This is what I like. And then Austin may have the third down. It's almost similar to run game, pass game coordinator, except they're doing it on the down-to-down basis, which, again, I don't know what the correct way is. I legitimately don't. But it makes sense to me of, all right, hey, if the head coach has the ultimate override of whatever the play call is, that's fine. But if you're the offensive coordinator, you have the design. Like, you're the one that's scripting all this. Like, okay, these are the first 10 plays coming out of the game. Or, hey, if we get the ball first, these are the plays I want to see. And he chooses one. They have a discussion, whatever. Like, all right, let's roll with it. And and Hugh Freeze, he addresses it here of just exactly how that headset communication goes on with him and Jackson Arnold.
It's both of us. We both have the ability to do that. And
you and Nick.
But usually the call comes through me. And I either, that's what we're doing, or I say, hey, you got it right now. And I'll try to keep my mouth shut unless I have time to see a check or something that I know we should go to. But hopefully we've done a good enough job coaching him that he gets us in those to begin with.
Is that similar to how you always have done things?
No, I wouldn't say. Yes, the planning, but I called, the majority of the plays at Ole Miss and at Liberty and Arkansas State and the other places. But Nick's has been with me so long, he's one of the few that I have a comfort level with because our verbiage is the same. So he's one that he and Kent both have been with me long enough where I feel comfortable not having to do that all the time.
Simple as that. As long as they know what the communication line is, I could care less. And now, and I will say, going back to last season, kind of looking at Peyton Thorne, maybe that could have been part of the reason why he was not as successful as a quarterback, because he's getting it from 30 different directions, and then he makes a check because he sees something at the line. I think about that Georgia game when they went for it on that fourth down, and, Thorne kind of goes rogue, and Hugh Freeze is over there just, what are you doing? He's asking Peyton, what are you looking at? What did you see? And to me personally, maybe it's because there were so many game plans or so many plays within the script of like, oh man, I see this look, let's make a quick switch, and they weren't seeing the same level. But, and again, that's last season, but I think for Jackson Arnold now in the new place, it should finally make sense. And now Hugh Freeze, addressing that, hey, me and Nick's both have the headset communication. We're going to discuss it. And again, quarterback that young, he's probably covering his ears trying to make sure, like, okay, what did he call? All right, we're going with it. All right, let's roll. And again, if you want your quarterback to be confident, you got to take a little bit off of his plate so he can go out there and play full speed and not have to think so doggone much. But we'll continue the conversation on the other side, 205-834-9450. Your text message, your calls, always welcome here on Morning JOX. We'll continue the conversation, take a look at what we expect to see from the second scrimmage for both Alabama and Auburn. All that and more as we return here on Morning JOX. .620 here on Morning JOX, Damian Mitchell. But I'm not alone. As host of the three-man front show with Landrum Roberts, Molly Robinson, and Conrad Van Order, it's the one and only Pat Smith. And Pat, as somebody, I know that you're a loyal listener, first-time caller. And so we're having
text. I don't call.
That is true. That is true. As somebody that has seen a lot of football practices, and it seems as though this whole throwing of the visor situation, because Hugh Freeze is frustrated at Jackson Arnold, to me it just seems like a normal football practice where somebody makes a mistake and the coach just throws his visor. But a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, there's trouble in paradise on the plains because Jackson Arnold and Hugh Freeze aren't on the same page. When you continuously tell somebody to let go of the football, doesn't it get frustrating as a head coach that, sometimes you may lose your cool?
Did people not watch 17 years of Nick Saban practices? Did he never throw a visor? Did he never throw his floppy hat? Did he never go up and cuss out a defensive back when he didn't do what he was supposed to do at practice? I don't want a football coach that doesn't get upset with what's going on at practice. I thought that's what fans wanted to see. I thought you wanted to have a coach that got fired up, Listen, I think more than anything, I think Auburn was a little bit embarrassed yesterday because, listen, there's just these unwritten rules, and I'm sure that it's now been laid out. Because it's been a long time, Damian, I'm just going to be honest. It's been a long time since I have been to an Alabama or Auburn practice because, once, really Nick Saban took over at Alabama, the likelihood of anybody being able to actually watch something substantial at practice, it ended because they're so paranoid about what potentially is going to happen. So, you're told, listen, it's common knowledge, do not go to a practice and do not film things and put on Twitter. Well, I'm not going to mention the young man's name, but obviously he aired yesterday and he will learn from it. He's very new in the journalism/broadcasting business, and he posted a video of him throwing his visor. And so in this world of trying to control the message, it was a situation I think Auburn obviously felt embarrassed. And I'm sure that young man was talked to. That's why he immediately deleted the tweet. And then, of course, Hugh Freeze had to continue this conversation about what's going on the offensive side of the ball, which is very convoluted. But at the end of the day, we will not remember any of this if Auburn finds itself with 8-9 wins and finds itself in a conversation late in the season for a potential college football playoff. Now, if it goes the other way, then we're going to circle this and we're going to remember that this was kind of the beginning of the end of the Hugh Freeze era at Auburn.
Yep, and we spent, a part of the summer talking about he was not focused on recruiting with the golfing situation, and then all this hoopla about the play calling this week, and then now the cherry on top is him throwing a visor because he's frustrated at his quarterback. Okay, I look at it like this, and tell me if I'm wrong in thinking this kind of mindset. If Auburn is almost in a no-win situation week 1 against Baylor, and this is why. Because if they win close, it's, oh, man, it's Baylor. Why were you in a dogfight with Baylor? If they win big, it goes to, oh, well, it's Baylor. We're the SEC. They're the Big 12. We're supposed to beat the brakes off of them. And then if they lose, it's, oh, boy. If they lose a close one, it's, okay, well, maybe our offense, especially if it's like a 17-13 game or a 21-17 game, it's like, man, our offense just still isn't clicking. What's wrong with us? And then say if Baylor blows them out, it's okay. Well, Hugh Freeze is on, he's on, fireable alert. Like it's almost like they're in a no-win situation no matter what. Because again, if they do win week 1, you're not going to be tested again until Oklahoma, and that's 2-3 weeks down the road. Mm-hmm. So now when I look at this Auburn team, like to me, going into the season and as we get closer to kickoff and we continue to have these discussions of, the running back room may not be necessarily all the way there. Receivers are okay. They're dinged up, but we still can't get our quarterback to let go of the football. That sets a bad omen, or it gives you kind of a funny feeling leading to that Baylor game.
Listen, I will be one of the main people that will be on the radio on Monday if Auburn loses that game and raising concern about the rest of the season. But we all have to get out of the mentality, and that includes myself, about the way college football used to be thought of. And the reason I'm saying this is because back in the old days, if you did lose that week 1 game, if you lost a couple of games, before you got to October, then all of a sudden you've got major problems about the football team moving forward. But in this new age of the college football playoff expansion, you have to realize that Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois last year, one of the worst losses you're ever going to see on anybody's schedule, especially when you're playing in the hallowed grounds of South Bend, Indiana. They lost that game. Think about Ohio State, got embarrassed to their biggest rival, Michigan. They win the national championship. You got Notre Dame put themselves in a position to play for a national championship after that disgusting loss. So no matter how bad Auburn looks in week 1 or how good they look, you have to take this incrementally each and every week now moving forward. It's the NFL mentality. That's what I call it. Because not only are we talking about basically salary caps now, players being paid, but also the way the playoff is set up. You got to get out of that mindset of, oh my gosh, we've got to go undefeated. We can only lose 1 game. We got to get to Atlanta to play for an SEC championship. All that's out the window. You just have to be in a very good position come the last of November in regards to how many losses you take and which losses. And listen, I think if they do lose to Baylor, that's going to be a good loss, so to speak. I don't care if they lose by 1 or they lose by 50. It's going to be still a good loss because Baylor is going to be one of those teams competing for the Big 12. They're going to be probably a top 3, top 4. Heck, they might even end up playing for a Big 12 championship. So that is going to be a respectable loss, no matter how they look. So I think we all need to kind of pump the brakes a little bit and not put so much pressure on that first game for Auburn. Now, other side of the state, if Alabama goes to Doak Campbell Stadium and they lose as a 13.5-point favorite on the road to a Florida State team that only won 2 games last year, then we've got a whole different conversation about what's happening on the western side of the state as opposed to the eastern side.
That is 100% correct. And again, a Florida State team, like you said, they won 2 games last year. They've kind of revamped everything. They gotten Gus Malzahn as the offensive coordinator. Tommy Castellanos, who was benched at Boston College and also decided to quit, in parentheses.
But he was the best quarterback in the ACC.
That's what he said. What he said. And if he believes it, I'm not going to. And now he's the quarterback at Florida State. And now with the transfer portal, a lot of guys going down to the Seminoles. So it's going to be a completely different squad. But I still think the expectation as far as what Alabama has returned and what they have in store, I would find it completely difficult to believe that they go down to Tallahassee and lose. But again, it's week 1. Nobody really knows what anybody does. Like that's what's so fun about like the camp period and once they transition into game week, because they can pick up certain things of, okay, it's almost like a trend. It's, okay, this is what this defensive coordinator was doing at Nebraska. This is what we could potentially expect at Florida State because he's coming from Nebraska. And this is what Gus Malzahn has always had success with, but he's now coaching with Mike Norvell, who has to say so. How many offenses are we going to have to prepare for? Because we're so used to the buck sweep left, buck sweep right. A receiver lines up a couple yards back there. They're going to have a fake reverse and still run the buck sweep. We'll have a quarterback buck sweep, and then we'll throw it, on 3rd and 7 if we need to. Mike Norvell's, he had DJ Uiagalelei in the I formation last year. He had him in a single back situation. So yeah. I think for Alabama, as long as you work on the things that you need to work on, and it seems as though what we've been hearing throughout camp is the defensive line, they've had a couple missteps, but when they lock in, they absolutely lock in. And with all the guys they have returned, with the Deontay Lawsons, the Damani Jacksons, Keon Sabb back there in the secondary and linebackers position, you feel pretty confident going into week 1 that as long as we play like we need to, it shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, and I heard you talking about it a little bit earlier, because with Auburn scrimmaging this morning and Alabama scrimmaging tomorrow, a lot of, okay, what are we looking for? Because the second scrimmage is the most important. You talk to any former coach or a current coach, they're going to tell you that this is it. The hay's going to be in the barn after today because the depth chart's pretty much going to be set. And from that point moving forward, you got to start, game planning of what you're going to do and the personnel you're going to have. So Auburn's got a lot of wide receivers that are banged up right now. So how much are you really going to be able to tell after today's scrimmage? Now, the wide receiver room is the wide receiver room, and they got the pecking order down. That's not a problem. But I'm just saying, if you don't have your big dogs out there at the scrimmage today, and there's that continued frustration of Jackson Arnold holding on the ball, I'm not really sure how much we're really going to be able to read off of today's scrimmage. And meanwhile, tomorrow in Tuscaloosa, the defensive line just did not do much in the first half of the scrimmage last week. My sources told me that the offensive line was either looking like Cole Kubelik's favorite offensive line all time, or the defensive line was one of the worst you've ever seen because there was no penetration. Now, on the back end of the scrimmage, no question the defensive line picked up the pace. I think Kane Womack lit into him pretty well during the little intermission period before they started the second half of the scrimmage, and they started making some inroads. But, that's the thing that I think Alabama fans need to kind of hone in on for tomorrow's reports when you start seeing them come out, whether it's on Tighter Insider or whoever on Twitter posting stuff, because that's going to be a very important facet of what's happening. I think they feel really good with where the offense is in regards to what's happening at the quarterback position and the wide receiver running back, but it's that offensive line against the D-line, and can the D-line kind of step it up a notch, because that's going to be one of the storylines that a lot of people are going to pay attention to.
Absolutely. 205-834-9450. We see your text messages. We see your calls. We'll get to them on the other side. Keep it locked on Morning JOX. .635 here on Morning JOX. Damian Mitchell and the host of the Three-Man Front Show here on JOX, which you can hear from 10 to 2. That'd be one Pat Smith. I think he has co-hosts. I'm not exactly sure.
Absolutely. I'm a very small cog in the big machine that is I was about to say four-man front. I just changed the name of the show to three-man front.
Absolutely. Appreciate Pat hopping on with us this morning. We are 8 days away from the official start.
Oh, that sounds good, doesn't it, D?
My brother.
Man.
We are in single digits. Ooh. It can't get here fast enough. We're also 6 days away from I guess you'd say the unofficial kickoff to college football. That's the JOX kickoff party. Come celebrate the kickoff to college football with us at the Bill Smith Buick GMC JOX kickoff party at Regents Field on Thursday, August 21st. And the only way to go is by winning tickets. Today is the last day of qualifying. To enter to win a pair of tickets for you and a guest, text the keyword final, like final score, and your full name to 205-834-9450. Again, the keyword is final plus your full name to 205-834-9450. Winners are drawn and notified daily. For more information, visit joxfm.com. We appreciate y'all as always, 205-834-9450. Texting in and calling in, as we have David who texted in. He says, maybe Hugh Freeze shouldn't have instructed his DC to lay back and take it easy on Arnold at the start of camp. It created a situation of him feeling comfortable in the pocket and thinks he has all the time in the world. It's a fair point. It's because Hugh Freeze did say it. Like he verbalized like, hey, I want my quarterbacks to leave the field confident. And I don't know if, throwing the visor when you're holding the ball too long is necessarily letting your quarterback feel confident as he leaves off the practice field.
Yeah, you're not giving him those positive vibes as you're heading into the locker room afterwards. Yeah, that was a bizarre statement too. I mean, let's just be honest. Sometimes, I applaud the fact that when there's a microphone in front of Hugh Freeze, that he gives us some wonderful sound bites. I think they need to be a little bit. They're being too honest, when you're asking the assistant coaches and they're saying, okay, this is what we're doing in each down. That has caused, obviously, some interesting conversations around college football this week and his comments earlier. And keep in mind, back in the spring, he said the goal of the Auburn football team was to be bowl eligible, which that irritated a lot of Auburn people. And then all of a sudden he goes from the goal is to be bowl eligible in the spring, and then he gets to Atlanta and SEC Media Days, and he tells everybody that Auburn could be a college football playoff contender. So it's kind of interesting some of the comments Hugh Freeze has had over the last 6 months.
Yeah, and people are having some fun with this situation. David from Pale City says, Freeze sounds like a politician. It's me, but it's not me. Bottom line, if it works, it's Freeze. If not, he has an scapegoat to try and get to do one more do-over. Not good on the Plains.
Listen, people I talk to down there, they tell me that he called every play last year. So and keep in mind, Derek Nix had a very interesting clause in his contract at Ole Miss, which basically it's a buyout clause, and that if he was not listed as the play caller at Auburn, then he was going to have to pay Ole Miss a lot more money. So, there was some interesting things, some hoops they had to go through to make sure that from a legality standpoint, Derek Nix appears to be the play caller at Auburn. But I think just like when Gus Malzahn was there, and I don't have a problem with it. It's just like in this state of Alabama, football fans are too smart. Like you cannot fool football fans. They understand. It was like when Gus Malzahn all those years was saying, I'm not calling the plays. Rhett Lashley's calling them. Or, hey, Kenny Dillingham is doing this, or whatever the case may be. We all knew that Gus Malzahn, at the end of the day, he was the one making the calls, and you saw it last year. I mean, Hugh Freeze was doing all the play calling, so goes without saying.
Absolutely. Lewis texts in, and he says, people are soft. Composure in a game is one thing. A little fire in practice, and people are offended. Get out of here with that. I'd be offended if he didn't have a little fire. I'm the same way. If he didn't show any emotion and he just continued to let the play of Jackson Arnold still deteriorate, that's an issue. Like, that is an issue if the head coach does not address it right then and there. But I'm under the impression, again, it's just a typical football practice. A coach sees something he didn't like, he loses his cool, and they reload the next play. Like, they don't have time to kind of harp on these things because of the fact that, hey, if he has continued to tell Jackson, get rid of the ball, get rid of the ball, get rid of the ball, and he doesn't, yes, there's a sense of frustration that is going to come upon a head coach, especially as the play caller. It's, okay, man, like what – and the thing was, it was half pass Kelly. Like, it was just a two-man route with the QB where essentially unless they are getting locked up, you got to get rid of it or just eat it or throw it in the dirt or something. But to hold on to it is – Hugh Freeze probably slammed his visor like, man, you ain't going to have that much time. He's right there. Yeah. He's open. Let the ball go. But – and I also looked at it from this perspective of he's played too much ball to continue to make the same mistakes. Like at some point he has to look internally if you're Jackson Arnold of, okay, what am I doing wrong? Am I overthinking these things? Am I trying to see something? Am I seeing ghosts like Sam Darnold did a couple years ago for the Jets? Like, is he just not processing? Because those are the conversations you got to have with your head coach of what are you seeing that I'm not seeing? Because Hugh Freeze is looking at it from his vantage point of, man, why aren't you letting the ball go? And then Jackson's telling him one thing, and he's looking at the defense that's telling him nothing. But at some point, people have to realize, like, Hugh Freeze is the head coach. Like, it all ends up coming to him because you can't fire Jackson Arnold if he throws a pick. But you know who you can fire? Hugh Freeze.
Yeah, well, and listen, I think that him throwing the visor yesterday, I contend that we're not even discussing that, or it's not even a story in college football, so to speak, over the last 12, 15 hours, whatever it is, if we had not had the Knicks first down, Freeze second down, Kent Austin third down conversation from a few days ago. Because everybody is just kind of jumping on the convoluted nature in which Auburn is trying to move the ball offensively. Then when you have a video of the head coach throwing his visor, everyone in America is going to go see that convoluted system of Knicks first down, Freeze second down, Ken Austin third down. That is not going to work, and you can tell the frustration is already building, which it really has absolutely nothing to do with what you saw yesterday on that video that was very short-lived on the interweb, but it goes without saying that folks are going to pile on when they can.
Absolutely. We'll continue on the phone lines, 205-834-9450. Let's go to our buddy Poe in Birmingham wants to talk with us this morning. What's going on this morning, Poe?
Man, good morning. How y'all doing? Mr. Pat Smith and Damian Mitch, what's happening?
What's happening, bro?
Hey, Poe, what's going on? Happy Friday.
Man, happy Friday. Man, I don't know, man. I'm just ready for this college football season, too, man. You know what I'm saying, to get everything started. But Damian Mitch, when I came on about, I need to just be concerned about them Bulldogs for real. But at the same time, man, I keep telling people, man, Hugh Freeze ain't that. He's just not that guy to me. And I came on and expressed that. He just don't seem like he that coach that everybody think, or if everybody think he's a good coach or whatever, man. I don't know. And Auburn is a good program. I hate to see them in the predicament that they be in at times. You know what I'm saying? And like Pat was right, man. You can't fool an Alabama football fan. Auburn and Alabama fans, man. They're too smart about who's calling the plays. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. It's just my take on Hugh Freeze, man. The guy I don't know. He's not that top of the pedestal to me, man. But hey, I'm just ready for these 8 days to go on by so we can get started with college football, man. Like always, it's your boy Poe. I love y'all. Y'all stay up and let's get ready for some ball. I'm out.
Thanks, Poe.
Yes, sir. We appreciate it, man. And I said it as soon as Hugh Freeze got hired, and I've always thought this. Like, he's Gus Malzahn 2.0, except the fact that he'll throw the ball more. Because you look at his track record, you look at his track record, even when he was at Ole Miss, like, he won some good games, but he also never played for an SEC title. And he had immense talent. Now, how he got him there, that's between, Hugh Freeze and the Lord. But he had talent there. Yes, he beat Nick Saban twice. Congratulations. You also lost to Kevin Sumlin. You lost to, you lost to Brett Bielema when he was at Arkansas. And you hear all the shots he's taking at the SEC. He was before Chad Morris. And to me, his track record and his resume doesn't necessarily reflect the expectation of where Auburn realistically thinks that they are. Because I said it as soon as he got hired. It's, okay, if these are the goals and he's never achieved them outside of just, playing, coaching at Liberty, what makes you think he's going to get that, he's going to take Auburn to the next level? That's always been my question of, realistically, where do you think that what's his ceiling? Where do you realistically think that he's going to put Auburn at that they haven't already experienced? Because, again, you can say the Gus Malzahn thing just kind of it wards welcome. Like, it was a decade plus, and it just got to a point. It's like, all right, we're just going around in circles. This is the same thing over and over and over and over again. But it proved to be effective. You at least found yourself consistently in bowl games. Now, the Hart scenario, you only gave him 22 months, so there's no real telling of what it could have been. And now with Hugh Freeze, year one, you kind of got a little bit of a mulligan. Year two, it's, wait a minute, what's going on? And now in year three, it's immediate pressure of, he's got to win, and he's got to win now. So is it fair, unfair? I don't really know. But it's also, he's never reached the heights that y'all are wanting him to reach at other places besides Liberty. So it's kind of a catch-22 of, Okay, so if Hugh Freeze go out here and, you're 8-4, is that acceptable? Like, is that fine just because you've seen so much bad the first 2 seasons?
Well, I think 8-4 is going to get that conversation off of the thought of him being on a so-called hot seat, because when you're 11-14 in 2 seasons, but you're 5-11 in the SEC, the first 2 years that you've been there, you've had 2 4-game losing streaks in the season. So Auburn fans have put their money where their mouth is. They've got a really nice budget in regards to that football roster, north of $20 million, in which Hugh Freeze told the media that. And then you got a situation where you've had a top 6 recruiting class the last couple of years. Granted, this year, you're 14th out of 16 teams in the Southeastern Conference in recruiting. So the proof's going to be in the pudding. I mean, this is year 3. This is when Auburn needs to take that giant leap forward in regards to being competitive in the conference. Everybody that's around that program is going to tell you the roster is as deep as it's been in a very long time. So now it's up to the coaches not to screw it up and to try to get this team going in the right direction.
Absolutely. 205-834-9450. We'll continue on the Jocks text line and phone lines when we return here on Morning Jocks. $6:51 here on Morning Jocks. Jocks, I almost said it. Appreciate y'all hopping on with us this morning, having a lot of fun, just trying to set the scene for the second scrimmage for both Auburn and Alabama, and kind of just looking at the expectations for Auburn this season, and with the whole throwing of the visor situation that was circling around all over social media yesterday with Hugh Freeze getting frustrated with Jackson Arnold again. It's just practice. Like, we talking about practice, not a game. Not a game. We're talking about half scaly, a quarterback holding on the ball too long, and the coach gets frustrated. Now everybody's like, oh, my gosh, there's so much trouble down there on the plains. Jackson Arnold and Hugh Freeze aren't on the same page. No, he just made a dumb play, made a dumb decision. And Hugh Freeze warranted, I think, a very reasonable reaction of, I keep telling you this, and yet we continue to have these same processes. Like, come on, dog. Like, we're almost to game week.
It's not that he made a dumb play. It's that he's continued to make a dumb play. If it was one thing one time, okay, fine. Yeah, I get it. All right, fine. That's fine. Hey, this is what we do, whatever. But they've done it. He seemingly has done this consistently. So that probably warranted a visor throw.
Yeah, right. And, again, we've seen coaches throw headsets, slam them down. Like I said, I think it would have been worse if he would have snatched him out as soon as he got done making the mistake and put Ashton Daniels or Deuce Knight in, if they would have completed the same pass. Then everybody would have been super frustrated. But who knows? 205-834-9450. Appreciate y'all texting in. Somebody texted in and says, what if Hugh Freeze goes 8-4 this year and next year with losses to Alabama and Georgia? I think those are reasonable losses. It's Alabama and Georgia. You're just not there yet. But the other 2 losses I think will be more detrimental because you think, I'm assuming it's going to be a Vanderbilt or a Missouri or, Texas A&M, LSU if they put them on the schedule next year. I think, if you continue to lose to Georgia and Georgia and Alabama, it happens. I mean, Gus Malzahn continued to keep a job when losing to both of them for a while, and who knows? And again, y'all have heard me. I said I thought that he was Gus Malzahn 2.0. He just throws the ball a little bit more. Somebody else takes in and says that no head coach needs to be a coordinator. It's never worked. Name me the last head coach that won a natty being the OC play caller or the DC play caller. I couldn't tell you. I really couldn't. Somebody else takes in and says Jackson Arnold had that deer in the headlights look at Oklahoma, and he still has that same look at Auburn. He's playing scared and ain't comfortable. Ooh.
Okay.
I hadn't seen the tape. I hadn't seen what he looked like at practice besides a couple of clips of the scrimmage, but he's also working with a different receiving core where it's kind of helped him a little bit. Somebody says, good morning, Roll Tide. Besides Freeze, if another SEC team struggles, which coach will be on the hot seat, let's say, come mid-season? Probably Sam Pittman. And I love Sam Pittman, but I think it's kind of one of those, you've seen what it could look like when it all works out, and it's kind of that, we sprinkle in a 9-win, 10-win season. But I think as long as they can make it to a bowl game, I think he's going to be good. But he's probably the only coach I can really, really think of right now. Somebody texted in and says, say it again for the Barners in the back. Freeze is Timu Gus. Ceiling is not super high. Come on, man.
Whew, that feels mean.
Jason texted in and says, a visor. I had a coach that would throw chairs in youth league. People are soft. They are.
Now, that is true, yes.
Somebody texts in and says, Roll Tide, I dislike that freaking Cal College, but in all terms of fairness, how many times did we see Nick Saban break a headset in the fourth quarter up by 300 with 2 seconds to go? I don't like Hugh Freeze, but dang. Mac and Cuba's next.